So we're on Kuf Samach Aleph on the base, 2 lines from the bottom. And now we're talking about a regular get, right? In the beginning we were talking about the get makusher. Now we're back to a normal get where you write everything and then you sign at the bottom. The last line of the star, the Chalom Masakin, that it has to be a summary of what was said in the star. It has to be something that's non-essential. You write over what you'd written before because it just doesn't make a difference. It's basically filler. My timer, because the rule is you cannot accept anything written in the last line of a star. Amalei Rav Nachman Rav Amram. Where do you get this from? That the last line of a star has to be disregarded. Possible. If the Edim sign their names underneath the body of the star, and they separated it by 2 lines, they wrote their names, they signed their names 2 lines below the actual body of the star. The star is possible. Shita achas kosher. But 1 line, it's kosher. The obvious reason is because we're afraid people will stick in something and change the meaning of the star by adding in that last line. So Maishna Sheshit, and why is it that 2 shitin, 2 lines, is no good? They'll mezayah because of shita achas, but they'll mezayah because of, because maybe he'll write something afterwards. Shita achas not even mezayah because of. So why aren't we worried about the same thing also with 1 line? It must be the Chavur Misakin that anything written in the last line is disregarded. And the reason why they made it like that, why don't they just say that you have to sign immediately, not leave any blank space? The reason is because Adam, they're not comfortable writing, jamming it up against the writing. They leave a little space. They're not Seifrim, they're Adam. So they normally will leave a little bit of space between themselves, between their signature and the body of the star. So therefore the Chavur Misakin, that they look at what's written and then they sign. And as long as there's only 1 line, whatever will be written in that line, we're not going to listen to anyway. Therefore, the Chavur Misakin, write the last line, something you don't care about, because we always ignore the last line. And if everything goes into normal plan, they'll write the star, they'll have a last line that is not relevant, and then the Edom will sign underneath it, and no one will sticking anything in between. But if there should be enough space by Edom by mistake leave 1 line, and someone decides they're going to write something in, instead of having 1 line of nonsense, you'll end up having 2 lines of nonsense because you're going to disregard the last line anyway. Yeah, I mean, it seems sensible to me.
Yeah, I think nowadays we just put a line.
They put a line where you're supposed to sign.
No, we're supposed to sign, but in between, if you don't want anything filled in, it's like when people fill out a check.
Yeah, right.
The line in the front.
Right. So you're saying that's what they should do.
Yeah.
Fill it in.
I think that's how that would be nowadays. Those days, I guess they care about the aesthetics of the star more than people would today.
Well, we're going to see the Gemara is going to give that eights of filling in. We'll talk about it like just fill it in with ink. Shmamina. So the Gemara says, that's the reason, that's the explanation of why the last line is ignored. We said that 2 lines is no good because then you could put 1 line of nonsense, and before it you could put in 1 line that will change the meaning of the star. That's why you can't leave 2 lines. You can only leave 1 line. So 2 lines is going to be possible because you don't have any protection against him putting 1 line that means something and then another line that we're going to ignore. What about at 1.5 lines? Are we worried about if you put in left 1.5 blank, is he going to be able to squeeze in 2 lines into that 1.5 line space? So we'll just write it with small letters. Tashma. Impossible. We said in the Brisa that if it's 2 lines, then it's possible. That's mashma, that anything less than that is kosher. Gemara says, what do you mean? Shita achas kasha, shita achas huda kasha, shita mechz apostle. It says that one line is good, so that's mashma. Anything more than that is going to be puzzle. You can't learn anything from the mashmoyas of the Brisa. My happy Allah. So what are we going to tackle? How are we going to deal with this? Tashma, the Tanya. Herchikas ha'edim shnei shitim naksav puzzle. Pachas mikan kasha. You have a Brisa that says very clearly that 2 lines is puzzle, and anything less than that is kasha. So we say 1.5. We're not worried that he's going to squeeze in 2 lines, and therefore there's no need to fear that he's going to put in 1 line of changing the document before the line of that's disregarded. What if you had 4 or 5 edim that signed on a star? And it turned out that one, and the Rashbam says, so 2 of them turned out to be kroivim or psulim. Tiskayim edus b'shar. You just have to, the Gemara says, all you have to do is kind the other 3 edim. Even though you had 5 edim to begin with, and 2 of them turned out to be puzzle, you would kind the other 3. And the Rashbam says, the obvious question, we had just seen before, just a blot ago, we had seen the Machlekes Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva. What do we learn? And we said it's come. One of the pshatim was to tell you that if you have an edus of 3 edim, and one of them turns out to be puzzle, it puzzles the whole edus. So why are we saying over here that if one of the 3 edim, 2 of the 5 edim that was signed on the star turn out to be puzzle, that it's still a good star? So if you have a blank space of what happened if you wrote a star and then 3 edim came and signed on the star, but they left two lines between themselves where they signed and the actual star. So there's obviously a problem. If there's a gap, it's going to be puzzle. So what does he do? He goes and rounds up the Balashtar goes and rounds up 2 of his brothers, and he has them sign on in that gap, so it won't be open. No one can stick anything in it. So Alta Tama, and if you'll ask, how could that be? How could it be that if you have something that's open, nothing's written there, it's puzzle, and then you write something that's puzzle, it makes it better? It seems strange, right?
It's just a filler.
Yeah, but the Gemara says how could a filler that's puzzle be better than leaving blank? Now we know what the cheshbon is. We understand the reason it is. It's interesting. So the Gemara gives another example. We have such a thing. If you have an empty space in your schach, right, in your top of your sukkah, that's 3 tvachim, just open, it passes the sukkah. Schach pasel, paisel ba'arba. But if you have schach pasel, it's going to be, you need to have 4, you have to have 4 tvachim of schach pasel. So you see that even though schach pasel is obviously worse than schach pasel should be worse than opening. Opening is nothing; it's neutral, and schach pasel is affirmatively pasel. Even so, we say that there's a bigger shear to pasel. You need more schach pasel to pasel. If you have 3.5 tvachim of open space, it will be pasel, and if you have 3.5 tvachim of schach pasel, it will be kosher. So you see, under some circumstances, something that's pasel could be worse than something that's open, that's left blank. They want to say that the way I understand it is, they want to say that how could the Chacham set up such a situation where you have to do something puzzle better than leaving open? They should say, even if you fill it up with puzzle, it should be puzzle, because you're. I guess the thing is, one would then come to think that schach puzzle is kosher. If it's better than blank, you might say maybe it's not so puzzle as I thought. Or if you let schach puzzle kasher or sukkah, right? You have an empty space of 3.5, and you fill it with schach puzzle. Now your puzzle of sukkah becomes kosher. It's a person who sees that. He sees the guy puts in fiberglass sheeting on top of his sukkah for 3.5. He said, the rabbi told me I have to do it. And now he has the kosher sukkah. Someone will think that fiberglass sheeting is not puzzle like it's all. Think it's kosher. Or someone who sees, he puts in his brother, his half brother, as a signer, and he says, "Oh, I always thought that a brother is puzzled to say this, but I see he put him in and it doesn't puzzle. If it would have been blank, it would have been puzzle. Now he put in his brother." So that's the svara. Why? What the Gemara's havamina was. You see that it's not. We don't necessarily always say that. Ibaylu, shnei shitin she'amru, hein va'aviron oidilma hein v'lo yavir. When we say that a blank of two lines between the body of the star and the signatures that it puzzles, does it mean two lines of writing together with the space in between them and above them and beyond beneath them? Or maybe it just means a bare, anything above two actual lines of writing is going to be possible because we're worried he's going to smush in two lines in there. It means a line together with, it has to be big enough for both the writing and the space above and below the writing. So the Rashbam takes out the next few words. He takes out the word shita achas b'lo yavira, which makes sense. He says, what's the use of having two lines of actual written letters? You can't squeeze if you have a whole long document like nicely in a nice 12-point font, and then you have two lines that each squeezed in without any space above them or below them, also in the 12-point font, but they look very different than everything else. Everyone's going to realize that it was squeezed in. So it has to be a normal amount, enough to put in normal lines that we might possibly mistake it and think that they're part of the shtar. Shma mina. These two lines that we said that passel, it has to be lines that are the size of the signatures of Adam, but not the size of the lines of the Sefer. The Sefer is an expert, so his writing is much more compact. So if we see two lines that are if you see two lines that are the same size as the rest of the writing, as the writing of the star, it's not going to pass him. You'd say, why not? Because he's going to make it the same as the body of the star. Or it has a clever reason why not. My time. He's not going to go to a scribe to add in after the Adam already signed and tell him, please put in another two lines. The Sefer are going to lose their job if they conspire with someone to write extra lines in a star. No one's ever going to hire them again. So this guy is going to try to do it himself, but he's not an expert. So he's going to write the way a normal person writes and not the way a Sefer writes. But comma, how much does that actually amount to? The two lines that we said together with its avir, together with its space. Amar Rav Yitzchak ben Elazar, Kagoin lecha lecha ze al gabi ze, like the words lecha and lecha on two separate lines, meaning that the lamed of lecha has a thing sticking out on top, and the end of chaf, the chaf has a thing sticking out on bottom. So if you have two of them, one on top of the other, you have to leave essentially the room for a regular letter, plus a space on top and a space on bottom of both lines. Because what happens if the bottom of the chaf is coming up against the top of the lamed? Alma kasava shnei shitin ba'arba avir. So according to this man, the Amar, he holds that you have to have the space of writing two letters, which is the body of a single letter, plus the top and bottom, the top of the lamed and the bottom of the chaf on each line. You have to respect both of those extras. So that will come out to four spaces. One space on top of each written word and one space on bottom. And you can't like assume that the bottom of the lamed and the top of the lamed and the bottom of the chaf will not intersect. Maybe they'll line up one against the other, and therefore you have to leave a space both on bottom and on top. He says, no, you just have to worry about the lamed on top and the chaf on bottom. He holds it just obviously you have to have a space in between the letters, but you don't worry about they're going to hit against each other. You just assume that you have to leave a space on top for the lamed and a space on bottom for the chaf. And the regular space, if you can have one line jammed up against the other, you don't have to have two spaces in between. Because you don't assume that the lamed and the chaf are going to hit each other. I'm Baruch ben Levi b'shita achas. Says all you have to have is like a line with a chaf that goes down and a lamed that goes on top. So he says when we say two lines, we just mean that will equal the amount of one line with a space on bottom and a space on top. That's what he holds the two lines amounts to. That's the way you measure it. Amarav, lo shanu elabein edim l'ksav. This that we said that you're not allowed to have two lines in between or else it's puzzle, that's only between the body of the star and the edim. But between the edim, after the edim, there was another seal. There was the signature of the bezdin, like we said, the henpek, that they have to be makayim the edims, the signatures of the edim. So between where the edim sign and then that seal, or this, which was really a signature of the bezdin, afilu tu benami kosher. You could even have a larger space. So why is it that we say you can't have two lines in between the body of the star and the edim? Because we're worried that the person who's holding the star, after he gets it signed, will write in extra things in between, and he'll use the chasimus of the edim. Why are we worried that he's going to add in another whole piece of contract, and then he'll put some more edim in it, and we won't know that this is all written after the kiyum of the bezdin, right? He'll put it in a new section of shtar, and he'll put a new edim that he'll write himself the edim. There's not going to be any need to be Makai in those edim, so everyone will assume that they're kosher. Zak the Gemara, the metayidle. This is what you had suggested before. We color in, we use ink to cover over that section in between the edim and the ashrasa and the hempeh. Why are we worried? Why don't we tell him to do the same thing? Let him fill in the space in between the star and the edim. Why was that only valid? Why can you only do that between the edim and the hempeh? Amri Sadi Atiyuto Udachasimi. So no, because if you do that, people assume that the signature of the edim is just going. It's just referring to the colored in section. There's a whole colored in section, and then underneath it you have edim. Right? We're saying let's let him color in that section. So we'll say that the edim that are signed are not edim for the whole shtar. These are just edim that he got specifically to attest that this colored in portion was not colored in on top of something that was written. If you have something colored in, it's possible there was something written underneath, a clause that one person didn't like, and he just colored it over. So you can't see what's there. It doesn't really address your question. Why don't you just put a line like an X or something that indicates that there's no way to write underneath it? I guess no, they didn't. That's not what they did. But that's the problem with coloring in that section, is that people think the edim are just there to attest to that colored in section, that it's not covering over something. Maybe the people who say the ashros, that which you mekayim, the signature of the edim, is also going. The kiyum is just going on that the henpik. The bezdin is not there just to talk about the whole star. It's just saying that particular part that was colored over is not part of the star. That's not their job. They would never sign such a thing. What they sign is on actual stars. They don't sign on the whole star. They say about the edim, that the edim are valid. They don't say that. They're not there to say that a specific part that's colored in is not part of star. Why aren't we worried that if you allow them to put in color in between the star and the edim, maybe they'll cut away the top part, because of my boy, maybe you'll erase what was colored in, and he'll write over there whatever he wants, and he'll have the edim signature, and he'll use the edim signature. Because I'm sorry. No, we're talking about a different thing. We said that the reason why we're not worried about the space between the edim and the ashrasa is because you color it in. And we said no one's going to think that the ashrasa, the signature of the bezdin, is just applying to that colored in space. The Gemara says, why aren't we worried about what he'll do is he'll cut away the whole first part of the shtar, where everything that was written there, and all you're left with is now that colored in space with the ashrasa, with the henpik, with the haskama of the bezdin underneath it. He'll do that. He'll erase all the colored in space, and he'll write in a whole thing. He'll write a star there with edim, and it won't need kiyum because it already has the handpick of the bezdin. And Rav says, "Star ba'hu be'edim ala kosher." Even if you have a erased section, it's kosher, according to Rav. The Gemara is going to explain why he holds that's kosher. Why? So, in any case, we have this problem. Why are we worried about that, according to Rav? So, Hanichl Rav Kahana the Masula Mishmei the Shmuel Shapir. According to Rav Kahana, that he says that which we said, that writing the star and the edim, when someone presents a star with an ashrasa, and the edim and the actual star are written on erased section of paper, that it's Shmuel said it's kosher. We could say Rav holds it's not kosher. He said that Rav is the one who said. So how could Rav say you're allowed to leave a large space before the ashrasa, and then it's talking about where you color in? So Gemara calls Kasava Kol Ki Agavna Ein Mekayim Say Min Ashrasa Shabai Ela Min Edim Shabai. He says that Ein Chanami, whenever you have a star that's written on an erased section of the star, even if it has ashrasa, you still have to go back and be mekayim the actual chasimus of the edim. And we are going to be concerned, even though it's still a star kaser, but it's not considered to be a star mekuyim, and you're going to have to be mekayim the signatures. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Lo shanu al beina edim liksal. He says, without which we say that one line is no good, and one line is good, and two lines is no good. That's only between the star itself and the edim. Al ve'edim la'ashrasa, afilu shita achas pasel. He'll say even a single line is going to be pasel. He disagrees with what we just said, that you're allowed to have a large gap between the edim and the ashrasa. Ma'asham edim la'ashrasa, dil magayas li'iloi, because of hu ve'edim b'shita achas. Dilma, because we're worried about what is he going to do. If you have even a single line, he'll cut away everything before, and he'll write everything on one line, both what he wants to write and the edim on that one line. Because he holds that if you have the edis together with the actual, like it says on one line, Reuven is selling his house to Shimon, and then the Eidim sign on that same line. He holds that's kosher. Because he holds that that which we said that you need, that the last line is disregarded, that's that's so that he holds that which you say the last line is only where it's on separate lines. But if it's all on the same line, it's going to be kosher. So Gemara ihachi bein Edom l'ksav nami dil megayz leiloi because of my deboy v'chasim bisadi. Why are we worried about the same thing? If it's why are we only saying that we're not we're concerned about this? Even a shita achar is possible because the word is going to put in both the Edom and the shtar on the same line. Why are we worried about that? If you just have a Edom on one line and then you're going to have put on the line before it the actual shtar. That's not going to be possible. The leichus to because of hu be'edem b'shita achas va'amar anol rabas be'edem hu da'ati. So why are we worried about that? Even if he has the Edom, he's going to put him, and he'll say that I have one line together with he's going to write in a line together with his Edom, and then even though there's another aid on the next line, he'll say I was just doing extra Edom, so therefore we'll accept it because it's hu ve'edav b'shita achas, and he'll say disregard the fact that there's another aid afterwards because that was just an extra aid. He's still going to have to mekayim the top 8. Okay, we'll stop over here. I think we're far enough ahead that we can stop a little early today.